Hey there, Mission Control. Well, I wanted to see how easy it would be to go mobile with this system, the Lincoln Electric 210 MP here, because I gotta do a bunch of welding out at the site on thin metal, not thick, and I have some shielded wire. So what I did, all those steps you just saw, pretty simple to go from shielded to not shielded, just had to change some things there. The hardest thing to change was the wire, but actually going mobile is very simple. I got my setup that I did last night using shielded welding, and we're going to do another weld here today and just see how it turns out without the gas shielding on. And then if it works, we'll go out to the site and do some welding. But overall, if you want to know how easy it is to go mobile with this thing, I'd say the answer is pretty darn easy. So let's give this thing a whirl here. We got all the settings set, and we should be ready to weld. My helmet says I'm not in grind mode, so I won't flash myself. Okay, that's a good sign. But we're not feeding any wire through. It's upset at me. I think my tip might be bad. If I take this off, I don't think that's the right tip. I do not feel that that is the right tip, because we got a feed, but we got no goodness happening there. Sure enough, the tips have sizes on them too, so I put the right size tip on. It's working. I still have that flame as that bubble through. It's gonna take a little bit to get used to this. It's just burning through, man. Crank down the voltage a little. See what happens. I keep burning through. Oh, that sheet metal on there is so thin. Yesterday I was doing so well with the shielded. I'll be honest, I am so used now to having the shielded gas that this is like radically different here. I really like shielded welding rather than the self-shielded stuff. I think that's gonna work, guys. Carrying it out there just to see how it goes. So let's haul this thing out to the site. I'll show you what we got to weld. But as far as going mobile, very easy to do. As far as Jeff knowing how to use it to weld really thin metal at the right settings without my shielded gas. Yesterday I had it kind of figured out by the time my practice was over, but today, not so good. Now let's give it a shot though. Okay, oops. Okay. Regardless of how well this next part goes, I can absolutely say that having a welder on a farm or a ranch, really nice thing to have. You don't need it very often, but when you need it, you need it. And you can probably do more with it when you have it. I mean, sometimes you just figure out how to make stuff work because you're out here and you just got to do that. You can't. You can see the little piece hanging out here. I got to get that all clamped into place. So I'm going to do that real quick. I grabbed it. So I've grabbed it in 3 spots, here, here, and here. But you can see from the cut, I got some problems I got to fix. Probably a good time to say that, you know, I've never done this. How many of you have actually cut into the side of a trailer and welded stuff in and put doors in and all that? I know there's some of you that have, but I never have. And part of this project, you know, you look at the trailers, I inspected the trailer first before I bought it, took a bunch of measurements, kind of had an idea of how it was built, but I didn't have the drawings, so I was kind of making some assumptions. And some of those assumptions turned out to be wrong. Oh, that one popped, okay. what happened here is the thickness of this material was underestimated by me. And then also, you know, plasma cutting, playing around with that, made this section really nasty. Up here it's way better because we use the Sawzall. We learned, you know, we try stuff, we learn, and then we have to fix our mistakes. And that's kind of the big lesson, right? That's what I do, is I made a mistake, but I'm not afraid to try. I'm not gonna sit here and not try something because I'm not an expert or because I don't know everything about it. Some people will sit here and stare at this thing forever and be like, I have no idea what to do. And my opinion is, well, let's cut it open and see what it's all about. We'll deal with it as we get into it. There's pluses and minuses to both ways, but that's the way that I'm working. See if we can't get this side welded here. It's a little nicer. I'm trying to stay on the metal more and let the puddle come down to the sheet metal. It looks like that's a not horrible way to do business, but it is. Still, this is too hot. It's just too hot. I got too much juice. I'm down at minimum settings here without the shielding. I'm not sure this is gonna work. Yesterday with the shielding, I mean, technically it's kind of in there right now. Let's get more on this side right here. Well, that's on there. By Jove, that's on there. You can just see the sheet metal here where it's thin is just giving way on it. It's getting chewed up by the welder. These sections here, we're probably just gonna have to fill with a caulking of some sort for this go round, and then have to update the drawings and get better dimensions on the next trailer. We're gonna have to get on the inside there because getting a good weld on the inside would actually be pretty good. Well, is it in there? Yes, it is. Putting some pretty good force on it, and it's definitely attached, but I'm trying to think of some really smart-ass thing to say right now. I can't. Insert smart-ass comment right here. It's attached. Let's try giving this a little more oomph here, huh? Yeah, I hope you're enjoying these videos that we're putting together. If you are, be sure to give them a thumbs up and hit subscribe. Ring that little bell so you get notified. And you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, on Instagram if you want to see some of the more up-to-date stuff before the videos are made. And if you really like what we're doing, you could help us out through Patreon. Really appreciate that. Let's get back to work. All right, so here's the problems. I looked at it more on the welder. The settings that I need for this is like 24 gauge sheet metal here. The 0.035, well, basically we can't use non-shielded or self-shielding MIG wire for this job. And if I would have looked closer before we came out here, I would have seen that. That's my bad. Now we know. We tried it, and what we've learned is that the reason why is it needs a lot more heat to melt, and that melting, because you got the core and the shielding all there, it needs to melt all that, and it's taking more heat to melt the wire than what it takes to melt the sheet metal. So even if I stay really close on the frame, which is what I've been trying to do, more time on the frame and bring the puddle up, it's just not enough. So going from 18 gauge up to 24 gauge, it's still burning through. The 18 gauge is fine because that's the setting that it's on, but the 24 gauge is just burning through. So that's problem number one. I did get the bottom bracket all tacked in, and on the back side there's a little bit more metal just down at the bottom. there's a run of metal that's in there. So I actually welded to it, and that welded great. And if the whole thing had that backing on it everywhere, we'd be good to go. But since it doesn't, we gotta get shielded gas. Second problem is we need to weld all the way up here, and that just ain't gonna work unless I get the welder inside of the trailer, which I need to do anyway. So we really got to bring those gas cylinders and the welder out here, and I'm not excited about that because it's kind of a job, you know, for the forklift, obviously, just like we do the air compressor. We put it on the pallet, bring it out here. We got these 2 compressed cylinders, an expensive welder, and I'm not excited about leaving those on the cart or taking them off the cart, especially when we have to go back and forth with it to put it away at night. So I think what that means is I need to go have a welding mover project initiated. I got this top one tacked in from the bottom, but as you saw me, it is popping and I can't tack it up at the top. I could probably tack it here in the middle, I guess. Let me try that real fast. Tack in the middle. A little tackiness, a little tackaroo. Yeah, that's tacked. And I also need to get this paint off of here. All the welders out there right now are cringing that I did that, but I'm learning. So, a good grind on that. Oh, that tack did not hold. Let's try it again. Try it again. I didn't even grab. Didn't even grab it. So the idea here is just like in a normally framed house or wood framing, we're reinforcing the structure here so the load will hit and then it'll be transferred through these bars and then redistributed down below. Got some more thinking to go do. I think we really do need to make a little cart for the welder just to go back and forth, especially with those cylinders on it. And if you have to move it a lot, we got to lift it up into the back of the trailer. So it just makes sense to use the forklift to do that on the tractor, but it has such weird movements and sometimes it can jump on you. We don't really want to have it where it moves rapidly and the whole thing falls over and those cylinders break and, you know, that would be bad. So I think I had a little cart, maybe using some leftover metal or from the cutout metal of this. I like how the frame turned out. Weld on the inside's fine. Certainly using the Sawzall is better than the plasma cutter. That's crazy. The mobility of the Lincoln Electric is just phenomenal. Love it. If we're welding thicker metal, I think we'd be fine. I definitely love my shielded welding over the non-shielded or self-shielding MIG wire feed. It's so much better, so much better. Anyway, hey, that's it for this video. Thanks for following along, everybody. If you did enjoy it, please do give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe. And again, don't forget, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. If you want to support us, you can do so through Patreon. In the meantime, everyone, this is The Real Martian, out.